Follow along, Catholic Pilgrims, as we follow French Doctor of the Church, St. Francis de Sales, through his book, Introduction to the Devout Life. Tune in as we read through this practical guide for living out the Catholic faith well. Here we are at episode 5, Catholic Pilgrims. Today in our readings, we will get a shout out to season 4's Saint Teresa of Avila. St. Francis is going to mention her, and I think it's pretty cool to see these saints referring to one another, so be sure to pay attention to that. It makes me miss St. Teresa and our time that we had with her. Our readings today are from chapter 4, from the first part, and the topic is going to be on finding a spiritual guide. Let's begin. Chapter 4, Necessity of a Spiritual Guide for Progress in the Devout Life. The young Tobias, being commanded to go to Rages, replied, "I know not the way." And his father answered, "Seek thee a man who may go with thee." And so I say to you, Philothea, if you desire heartily to follow a devout life, seek a holy guide and conductor. Seek where you will, so spoke the devout Avila, and you will never so safely find the will of God as in the path of humble obedience, so well trodden by all the saints of old. When St. Teresa saw what great penances were practiced by Catherine of Cordova, she longed to imitate her and was tempted to disobey her confessor in so doing. But God said to her, "Daughter, thou art in a safe and good path. I prize thy obedience higher than her penance." And so great was her love of obedience that, beyond what she owed to her ordinary superiors, she took a vow of special obedience to a holy man, obliging herself to follow his guidance, which was an infinite blessing to her, and many other pious souls, both before and after her, to subject themselves more perfectly to God, have submitted their will to that of his servants, which is highly commended by St. Catherine of Siena. The pious Princess St. Elizabeth of Hungary submitted with entire obedience to Conrad, and the parting words of St. Louis, when on his deathbed, to his son were, "Make frequent confession, and choose thee a good confessor, who shall faithfully teach thee in the way of salvation." Holy Writ says that a faithful friend is as a strong defense, and that he that hath found him hath found a treasure. A faithful friend is the medicine of life and immortality, and they that fear the Lord shall find him. These words, as you may see by the context, regard chiefly our eternal interests, in which above all we require this faithful friend, who will guide our actions by his warnings and counsels, and thereby protect us from the snares and delusions of the evil one. In all our sorrows, our sadness, our falls, he will be as a treasure of wisdom to us. He will be as a physician to give ease to our hearts and help in our spiritual diseases. He will preserve us from evil and forward us in what is good. And when we are conquered by some infirmity, he will save us from being overwhelmed and will raise us from our prostrate condition. But who can find such a friend? The wise man answers, "They that fear the Lord." That is to say, those who are lowly in heart and earnestly desire their spiritual advancement. And be sure, my daughter, that since it is so all important for you to begin this holy course of devotion led by a safe guide, if you heartily pray that God would give you such, he will supply your need in his own way. Doubt not that he who sent an angel to guide the young Tobias will provide you with a good and faithful guide. And when found, he should be to you as an angel. Do not regard him as an ordinary man, nor trust in him as such, nor in his human knowledge, but in God, who will himself guide you through his appointed channel, prompting him to do and say that which you most require. Therefore count him as an angel come from heaven, that he may conduct you thither. Have towards him an open heart in all faithfulness and sincerity, laying bare to him alike your evil and your good without pretense or dissimulation. By this means, What is good in you will be examined and established. What is evil remedied and corrected. You will be relieved and comforted in your sorrows, moderated and restrained in your prosperity. Place entire confidence in him, mingled with sacred reverence, so that neither reverence should hinder your confidence, nor confidence lessen your reverence. Trust in him with the love of a daughter for a father. Esteem him with the confidence of a son towards his mother. In short, let this friendship be at once loving and firm, wholly sacred, divine, spiritual, holy. And for such you must choose amongst thousands, for there are but few suited to such an office. He must be filled with charity, knowledge, and discretion. Where any of them are lacking, there is danger. But ask such of God, and when you have found what you need, thank his divine majesty and be content. Seek no more, but go on simply, humbly, and trustingly, and your journey will be safe and blessed. This is such an important chapter to apply to the modern age because of social media and the proliferation of the internet. St. Francis is stressing the need of having a spiritual guide that can be a quote-unquote conductor if you desire to follow a devout life. But we have to be smart, clear-headed thinking people when it comes to who we pick as spiritual guides. The other day, a follower of mine privately messaged me and told me about this woman who claims to be Catholic that has a large following on Instagram. The problem with what this woman is teaching is that she is mixing all kinds of new agey stuff with Catholic practices, and loads of people are following her, like tarot cards and reading the stars and things like that. And I went to look at her following, and she's got like 45,000 followers or something like that, which isn't a ton, but it's still concerning that people are falling for this dangerous stuff. She even has her own way of saying the rosary, which is just scandalous. So we have Catholic, quote unquote, influencers out there with a large following that speak all kinds of heresy and defy church teaching. And yet, people follow them as spiritual guides. We also have Catholic voices out there in the social media world that do nothing but speak negatively about everything within the church. The Pope is evil. He's the Antichrist. There's a conspiracy around every corner. The gates of hell have prevailed. Basically, that's the message. So we must be prudent people. Not every Catholic gets everything right. We are all flawed people and we all have our blind spots. However, that doesn't mean we can't find a good spiritual guide. St. Francis tells us that they, quote, must be filled with charity, knowledge, and discretion. Where any of them are lacking, there is danger, unquote. If the people you seek for spiritual guidance are perpetually negative Nancys or negative Nates, and everything is doom and gloom, they are not going to bring you to a place of joy in your spiritual life. In fact, they will give you anxiety about the state of things and cause you to doubt Christ's promise that the Holy Spirit will not let the gates of hell prevail against his church. Now, I'm all for being aware of when reform is needed and being aware of concerns within the church, but if this is the constant messaging, there is a danger. If the people you seek for spiritual guidance adopt an anything goes mentality and look more worldly than Christ-focused, then they are going to steer you into sinful beliefs and possibly encourage you to sin, which is scandalous. Put this test to any spiritual guide you might choose. Quote, what is good in you will be examined and established. What is evil remedied and corrected. You will be relieved and comforted in your sorrows, moderated and restrained in your prosperity, unquote. Those are the things a good spiritual guide should do. So be prudent and discerning, Catholic pilgrims, and like St. Francis encourages, quote, pray that God would give you a safe guide, unquote. That is all for today. It won't be long until we meet again. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.